Sociocracy for all. Happy Monday morning, everyone. It's Brian from Social Media Circle and Ted, your ops leader. This is TED Talks. This is TED Talks today. No, it's actually, we're talking about boundaries and self-care today within sociocracy. And one of the challenges that we want to just open discussion on today is, I guess you've got a great example for this, right, Ted?
Right, it's about self-care, and I know that quite a few people struggle with that, and I do think that sociocracy is a little light on there. The example that we talked about just now that Brian was referring to is um, if you have several roles in different parts of an organization, like let's say I am active in outreach, but I'm also active in training, and I'm also active in whatever else, then each of those roles will come with times when work piles up, right? Where there's just a lot to do. And there is, since I'm the only person probably that has those three roles, it might show up differently for me than for somebody else. So it's very similar to when you have, like in, let's say in high school, you have homework or tests or whatever final projects due at different points in time, right? And just for like a few students, it piles up because they happen to have this biology teacher and that literature class and this thing, and all of them happen at the same time. But the teachers don't coordinate necessarily. At least in my school, they didn't. In my kids' schools, they don't.
Yeah.
Like they just give you the homework and they just say like whatever, deal with it. And actually, sociocracy works exactly like that. You have those things in your role, and then it just comes as it comes. The only thing you can do is say no if you can not consent to something, right? But that's not so easy for people.
Because this is a different challenge in sociocracy versus out there in the world in general. I mean, it's similar but different, where it's like we're self-managing in a different way. And so you're like being aware of where your boundaries are is challenging for people.
Right, and there's not one boss, it's often several bosses that contributes to it. And the other one is you can say no, but that means you also have to say no. You can't just take on too much and walk around and complain because you probably said yes to it.
Well, we
Otherwise,
can and
how
do,
would it
Ted.
happen?
We can and do.
We totally can. Let's all take on too much work and then complain about it. I mean, that is what is already happening, right? Our culture is not set up for people who like put a healthy boundary in place and defend it.
Yeah, so the intersection we were talking about as well is this between what I'm interested in doing, what I want to do, what I care about doing, which is true for most people. It's like I want to help, I want to use my gifts in service of what I care about. And then there's also like what my actual capacity or my limits are. And I usually say boundaries are less crossed and more discovered. And so sometimes we discover our boundaries through taking on too much and then have to kind of backpedal, which means we let people down in the process sometimes. So there's the fear of disappointing or upsetting other people. And that tends to be what's challenging in stating what I actually need, is coming to the awareness of what that is and then actually being like, hey, here's what I need. And that's where nonviolent communication, I guess, comes in as well. So that could be one useful tool to help manage those interpersonal relationships, perhaps.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because I noticed in learning about nonviolent communication and needs and so on, the whole concept that you might have needs and that you might feel if they're unmet and so on or met, um, is that some people struggle being tuned in to their own needs, right? And then of course having boundaries is even harder, or naming them and all of that. So that's often a whole journey of discovery for people to discover that they in fact do have needs.
Absolutely. And it's vulnerable revealing those needs in a lot of cases.
Right. Yeah, so but overall, I think what's interesting to me is that, as I said, sociocracy is not super strong. It is strong on the circle care. So if you have a team, you're part of something, the circle might decide how much energy to put on the interpersonal care, and whether or not they do that, and how much, and so on. But overall, I'm curious what people have found in terms of self-care, what they have encountered, what they've done about it, and so on. I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, so write your comments in here or in the forum. We welcome the discussion. We've got another nonviolent communication course coming up as well. I was just trying
That's
to find
true.
the date about that. I think it's in about 2 weeks now. So check that out. And that can be supportive. And we're looking forward to hearing from the discussion. Thanks, everyone.